So, the two supernatural stories that actually do have scientifically explainable basis that I will explain. The first one is of a phenomena that usually only happens at sea. The phenomena, and if you have spent any time on the ocean, you may have actually heard of this, seems to be called a green flash. The weird thing about my experience is I was very far from the ocean, very high above sea level. The green flash normally happens when there is a horizon, you're level with the horizon, and you watch the sun kind of disappear under the right conditions. And everything is a huge flash. Yes, I am ready for 7.0. I'm actually looking forward to it more and more the more I think about it. I know that's not necessarily a popular opinion, though. I digress. The green flash. I was roughhousing with a buddy of mine and two of my brothers, and we were up in the high Sierras on a hike very similar to the one that we did this most recent time. And I would say our exhaustion levels were damned high. We were damned exhausted. It had been a long day, heavy packs, high altitude. It was a dizzying experience. But I don't think we were all out of it enough to have all collectively hallucinated the same thing. That being, we sometimes would play this game where, if you guys have seen mummy bags, where you're backpacking, you have that mummy bag, where you basically, you tighten up your mummy bag around your face so you can either get nose, eyes, or mouth, nose, depending on your needs at the time. Everything else is completely overheating and sheltered in the mummy bag, and we would try and pin each other with the mummy bags. It looks fucking ridiculous, but that's that. Yeah, they did. They really did. And we were just doing that and horsing around. And I remember at one point, my buddy Brian, who was with us, he cut some tremendous ass. It was a huge fart. It echoed throughout the canyon. If there were other backpackers on the trail, they definitely heard it. But it was like, oh, and we all recoiled and dove away from him. And we were like, giving him shit, and we were gonna hold him down and harass him about it. But the thing is, he didn't get his due punishment, because right as we were gonna jump on top of him, there was something that must have only happened for a couple milliseconds. But to me, because it was so jarring, it felt way, way longer. It started green, and it started just at the tree line. And then it brightened up very, very quickly. And it became an enormous flash, so bright that it was daylight in the dead of night, away from civilization where there's no light pollution whatsoever. And it was daylight for a full 2 to 3 seconds. And I'm not kidding. Shadowless daylight. Shadowless daylight. There were no shadows. This was just some kind of immaculate, total illumination. And Nigel, we'll catch you later, man. And it lit everything up, and it silenced us completely, dead silent in our tracks. And it was something to behold. We'd never seen anything like it, and it obviously shut us all up, and then it dimmed into a green and it went away. And I can't really explain it, and it took me a long time to find somebody who could. Again, apparently that's a phenomenon normally seen at sea. Yeah, man, didn't do drugs. I actually don't do drugs. But it's a phenomenon only seen usually at sea. And when I had, we were all laying there just staring at it. There's 4 of us there. And my brother, my at the time youngest brother, Doug, was like, Lou? And I'm like, yeah, Doug? And he's like, was it just like really bright all of a sudden? And I'm like, yeah, Doug? Yeah, it was. And then Brian's just like, night. He just rolled over. He was just like, night. And just, Pat, he was like, nope, I can't, I'm not doing this. And he just went to bed. And that was pretty trippy. So that's the first of those. But apparently it's called a green flash, and you can look it up. It's again, normally just seen at sea, so it's kind of bizarre that we saw it at about 9,000 feet up in the high Sierras. Kind of a weird one. That, and then we also the second of my paranormal experiences. Unbannable. The thing is, it's kind of a case-by-case basis, right? So for one, the shift key isn't an action. That's really more of just a button press, so that's not one I'm accepting anymore. I'm not doing anything like switch your mouse hands, but nearly any specific move can be slashed. Nearly. And I can tell you, if you have any ideas, you can run them by me, and I'll tell you if there's any that I won't do. But for the most part, I think, and I'm biased, but I think I'm pretty amenable. So, the second of my paranormal experiences happened during my first heart surgery. And this one was pretty gnarly. My experience was an out-of-body experience. And I don't believe in ghosts, personally. That's just my own perception. I'm not a religious guy either. So this was kind of a weird thing for me. My perception was that while I was under, I was behind the lead surgeon, and there were nurses and machinery, and there was an eerie still, but like a felt tension. And they were talking about how there just wasn't enough blood, and about how they needed more blood, and how he was on his way out. He was on his way out. And okay. So I'm gonna drop out a queue here, King. You're gonna want to do the same thing if we're gonna queue together. So, yep, I'm on my way. So, the perspective. I was behind the surgeon, and there was like a felt tension, but it was oddly still. And there was the lead surgeon was speaking very, very sternly, very harshly to a nurse Mendez. Yeah, nice choice though. I do like Diddy, but I'm definitely not an expert. King, I don't suppose you can reach out with an invite. I'm a pleb and didn't take down your name. So the nurse Mendez was being called upon for direct action, and I was talking with my surgeon about it, and he's like, how do you feel after the surgery went through? And it was about a week later. I was about to go home from the hospital, and I'm like, I'm doing all right. I had the weirdest thing happen, though. I've heard about out-of-body experiences, never had one happen to me. And he's like, oh shit, really? And he's like, yeah. Well, I was like, yeah, well, I did. And I had this weird dream where, like, you were with the hospital staff, and you were kind of panicked about blood or something. And he's like, oh yeah, we lost you there for a minute. And I was like, what? And he's like, oh yeah, we didn't think we were gonna get you back. You because they replaced a heart valve in about 9 inches of my aorta, and so they actually had to stop all the blood flow and pull everything out. And they're like, yeah, we just couldn't get the heart going again, and you were just bleeding out, and we just couldn't get it in, and you flatlined there for a while. And I was like, what? Like, how long? And he's like, oh no, there's no permanent damage, but we didn't think we were gonna get you back. And so I died, and he was like, yeah, so I mean, that happens sometimes when people die. They have like a weird out-of-body experience about it. And I was like, Like, that didn't come up earlier? Like, hey, by the way, surgery went okay. There was that brief period you died, but like, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So, yeah. Out of body. But I looked it up. And I talked to other people who've had serious complications. And apparently, the situation is your body is grasping at straws. When it's in its death throes, it's trying to piece together. All right, you got it. And it's trying to piece together its environment because it doesn't know what's happening, but it wants to live. And so it's listening to things that you wouldn't otherwise listen. It's extrapolating on memory that it only briefly had, and it's trying to like smell and taste and see everything. But because you have no sense of self, because the brain isn't operating properly, you aren't assigned a point of view that you normally would take on. So it's just somewhere within your best memory of your environment. And apparently, for me, that was right behind where the surgeon was standing. And so that's the scientific explanation of the out-of-body experience I had. My brain was just like, I don't want to go just yet. It's not time. And so it was cataloging and extrapolating and just intercomputing all these little fragments of information it had. It placed me in the room somewhere where I could be. Anyway, so there we go. That's two. And then the third one is kind of a we'll call it a divergent story. This one isn't a paranormal, but it's another little quick one for you. And it involves this amazing corn maze. And I've told you I spent quite a bit of time in Idaho for several years. And at this one Halloween time, there was an amazing corn maze. And one of the things that they had out there was this huge fucking slingshot. Hey, welcome to the Tunnel Snake, Chef Froggy.
Welcome.
I'm in the middle of a story time. We just had a viewer redeem many of the cents. That's our channel point here. And so you get a SentSterling story time. And this one, you get 3 little stories because, well, yeah, that's worth a big one. So, this one...
You already got the ban in-game action one, right?
Yeah, I got that. I got stealth removed.
Yep.
And, well, okay. And not everybody has the same experience, you know. What was your name? Are you still on, King Cathar? Excellent. So, the, this corn, and they had like a huge slingshot set up, a lot of rubber bands, and you basically launch a piece of corn at a target that's like 200 yards away. And what a great fucking one to have no stealth on, am I right? Anyway, well, okay. Anyway, it's just this little corn launcher thing. And they were like, hey, if you guys want to try this out, it's $10 a go. You know, you get a hell of a surprise when it's all done. And I was like, what do you get? And they're like, I don't know, you gotta find out. And I'm like, no, seriously, what do you get? What do I get if I hit the target? It's like, seriously, 2 football fields away. And there was a gong set up in it, and it was just, anyway, huge target. If you get the bullseye on the gong. And I used the force stealth. That's a different move. That's this one right here, Disappearing Act. That's stealth that was canceled. Disappearing Act, I still have. So, the, yeah, sneaky. So, the the guy's like, well, I don't know. Let's see what you get. And I'm like, nah, I don't really need it. I don't know. I don't need whatever you're offering. And he's like, oh, pretty confident, huh? Pretty confident. I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know. If I don't know what it is, I mean, why should I care? And I was talking this huge game, this huge game. And my girlfriend and the friends we were with, and they were like, oh, well, we'll try it, we'll get it. And they all, fling and a miss terribly. And they're like, oh, you think you could do better? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could do it. I just don't want to, because I don't know what I'm gonna get. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. Holy shit. I don't have my roll out because it was probably banned as like the last action. Okay, there we go. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if I wanted to, I'd just go do it, but like, I don't want to. And I'm talking this huge game. Oh, I'm definitely dead. Anyway, and they finally convinced me to do it, and I'm like, okay. So I pay like the $20 you have to do, and I'm just like, I just pull it back, and I'm like, and they're like, just do it, and I'm like, what do I get? What do I get if I win? And have a great night, Cuppy. We'll see you.
How's it going, man?
I'm like, what do I get? And he's like, you have to find out, but you will make it though, don't worry. And I'm like, all right. And I loose it, and it flies, and it hits the bullseye. And it hits the gong. And the guy straight up says, oh, well, hey, better luck next time. And someone's like, no, he hit the gong. And they're like, the people were going nuts. And he's like, what? And like, yeah, he hit the gong. And I did, I heard it. And he's like, no one's ever hit the gong. And I'm like, I told you I was gonna get it, bitch. And he's like, oh, well, I mean, what? And I'm like, what do I get? I want to know what I get. And he's like, we don't actually like have anything. We don't really like have anything. And let me check. And so we ended up spending another hour and a half there while this guy hummed and hawed trying to like find out what his manager would be allowed to give me. And so he ended up giving me the money in his pocket. They had some like coupons for the company, just that they used for their like lunches and stuff. They basically just did like a grab bag of random stuff that they just had lying around. And they ended up giving that to me. And it was the most bullshit prize ever. But the smug fucking face that I got to wear for the entire holiday season, anytime anyone brought anything up, doubting my supreme ability, I could just reference my corn bullseyeing, and, everybody had to be completely silent, basking in the awe of my excellence.